Writer Radio is a BKR Media production. This episode is brought to you by the Montgomery Flea Market.
Living rooms, bedrooms, dinettes. Oh yeah, you can find them at the market. We talking about flea market. Montgomery, it's just like a mini mall. Oh yeah, come shop with us.
Hey, it's Brad Ryder, Writer Radio, the overall podcast, but we're starting to do a couple little offshoots here. Bills-themed podcast. Second day in a row. I said I'd try to do it 2 days in a row. I'm going to try to do it every day. See if it ends up being every day. But it is time to just start cranking these things out because of the fantastic season that we're witnessing, that we're a part of as fans. And I just have too many ideas and too many thoughts and too many words that I'm just bouncing off people around me, and I can record them and put them online, have a podcast. And it won't always just be me. In fact, today it's not. I will be joined once again by my son, Nate, who jumps in to talk about the research, football-related research project he took it upon himself to do at school today. We've got the news of the day. Oh, also, Scott Wilson will join me to talk about the Bills in general, the Josh Allen situation, and the sort of golden age of Buffalo football that I'm slowly discovering and realizing I feel passionately that this is something that needs to be documented. So I'll talk to Scott about that. It'll be Scott first, followed by Nate, and then we'll wrap it up. Be sure to check out, also on this same feed, this Writer Radio feed, I've been doing a UB Bulls-related podcast with Scott Wilson. There's a new one of those today that was recorded just before we found out that the Bulls were going to the Bahamas Bowl, which is really cool. But we had recorded the whole thing and then found out, just as I'm about to hit publish on the episode, we learned that exciting news. So there's a little thing at the beginning explaining all of that, followed by a long, deep dive really into the Bulls at this point in the offseason. Before knowing where they were going to be playing, what we did know is that they'd be in a bowl game. They're not going to Detroit for the championship game. And that the signing day, the new class of recruits, 18 new players, Scott knows all about them. I know nothing. So everything I know about UB football, I learned from watching them when they're on the field and listening to Scott Wilson when they're not. So you get the opportunity to do that. That's on this feed, but on a different episode. The most recent episode before this one would be about UB. This one's about the Bills. I know it's confusing. We'll get it straightened out. But the bottom line is I'm talking into microphones. I'm recording it. I'm posting it. We'll get the whole logistics of it straightened out and what goes in this feed and what goes in that feed soon. But there's going to be a lot more of me online in this format or some format like it. This is what I do. This is what I haven't been doing for a while. And I know it's been like starting and stopping podcasting since like 2008. I think I first recorded a podcast in 2008. Here we are 16 years later. Why am I not doing this on a regular basis? I don't know. So we're fixing that. Anyway, Bills news today, yesterday into today, is that Micah Hyde has been added to the practice squad. I don't have a ton of thoughts on what it actually is going to mean. And I haven't even asked anybody or read about it. Or I've done no research. Don't need to. I just know that this is a guy, I've attended his charity softball game the last several years. My family goes. It's great. He is a huge part of the community. I was there in the back parking lot when he was pulling out as my kids were waiting for autographs. And the crowd was chanting, "One more year, one more year." His stance all along has been, I'm not playing anywhere else. If I can still play football, if I end up still playing football, it will be for the Buffalo Bills. Adding him officially back to the organization is fantastic news. Just class guy who's been here for all of the McDermott tenure. And if everything goes well, fingers crossed, they go and win the Super Bowl. Even if he never comes out the practice squad, probably gets him a ring, makes him a part of it. He is a part of what they have built here, and to be able to bring him back is cool. And, shout out to the Bills for finding the Jordan Phillips of the world and bringing him back for a third time. I like what they're doing, and that's why I'm here talking about it again. It's just, they do all the things correctly. Hey, you're a part of it. You're available. You can still help us. You're back on my team. Love that. Love that for Phillips. Love that for Micah Hyde in the news recently. And, if a player goes down, if you need somebody, I don't know what his status is. Is he going to fully practice, fully participate? Maybe the Bills have answered this question already by now, and I just don't have it. But no matter if he is on the field during a playoff game or the Super Bowl or a regular season game, or he's on the sidelines, or he's just around, or he's just helping bring Cole Bishop up to speed and turn him into the next Micah Hyde. Whatever it is, I want that guy around the organization. They want him around. He wants to be around. That's great news. Let's talk to Scott Wilson. Then we'll hear from my son, Nate, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks.
Oh!
All right, so the Bills wrap up their 5th consecutive AFC East title. It's the first time the Bills have done that. They won 4 straight back. It's not exactly the Super Bowl years. It was leading into the Super Bowl years, 88 to 91. So the third and fourth Super Bowl they got to as a wild card team. So already this Bills team accomplished something that what we still refer to as the golden era of Bills football. I guess my overall point here is this is the golden era of Bills football. Because that team didn't win a Super Bowl, I know this one hasn't gotten to one yet, but they just won 5 straight division titles. And looking at the AFC East in general, the record is 11. The Patriots did it. Now, that's kind of a little twisted because they won 11 straight from from 09 to 19. They also won 5 straight just before that and had it interrupted by the Dolphins. So really, it was 16 out of 17. So we're not really getting into that territory yet. But with this guy at quarterback, with this coaching staff, with this general manager, with what they have built, I mean, it's trending in that direction. This was the year. This is going to be the down year, in theory, of rebuilding, or not even rebuilding, but retooling and figuring some things out. And my contention right from the start was there is no down year when you've got a player like that at quarterback. And it's proven itself, and it's why he's likely to win MVP. He's been great this year, but he's been great the whole time. It's just that for some reason expectations were that he wouldn't be this time, and that's kind of how you win MVP sometimes. That's how you win Coach of the Year, when the expectations are a little bit lower and then you exceed them. That's the kind of thing you do. The Dolphins also won 5 in a row back from 81 to 85. But when you look at this Bills team, are you with me that this is going to keep going for as long as Josh Allen is a healthy NFL quarterback who remains young enough to go out there and compete the way that he has all this year, and in particular on Sunday night in the snow, as they wrapped up their 5th consecutive division title?
As long as Josh is there, you should be able to compete. I mean, he's one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league. So I see no reason why it wouldn't, outside of absolutely stunning injuries that really decimate the group around him, specifically up front. If that offensive line, if you get down into a 3rd string offensive lineman all of a sudden one year where, you've got one starter left from the start of the season and everybody's injured, that could really impact it, but I don't see why not. And I think what you just described is the common lament of people saying, I wish I knew it was the good old days.
Yeah.
When I was in the good old days instead of 10 years down the road. And I think what you're saying is, hey, everyone, you're in the good old days right now. This is it. So drink it in right now. And I think the fun thing with the Bills is, I think after the drought, I think most fans realize that. I think that's something that on a lot of fan bases it would be lost and you wouldn't realize it. I think the Bills and their fans do.
Yeah,
which is what makes it fun.
That's right.
Which is what makes it fun. You go 20 years out in the desert with no water, and someone comes and brings you, a water truck full of water and a case of champagne. Then you take, after a couple of sips, saying, "Man, this is pretty great. This is really, really great." So, I see no reason why the party would stop outside of injuries affecting it. And I think that's everybody coming into the season saying all the Bills lost all these players. I think that the front office, I don't want to say gamble, but I very much think that the front office notion was, I got Josh, dude. So like all these other pieces moving around, hopefully it works out for the best, but I know I'm going to be in these games. So, I can afford to make those moves. I can afford to say the Texans can take my number 1 wide receiver is kind of being a pain in the butt, and he can move on. That's the luxury of having that quarterback is. And I think you've seen that same similar blueprint from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like Tyreek Hill was on the Chiefs. I know that seems a long time ago, and he was the number one wide receiver in the league, and it felt ridiculous that they were like just going to trade him to Miami. Not only are they getting rid of their number one wide receiver and the best wide receiver at the time in the league, but they're sending him in conference. But they said, you know what? We got the guy, man, and everything else is going to fall into place because we got the guy. I think the Bills went into this last offseason and said, we're not going to stress about some of this stuff. We got the guy. Keon Coleman is nice. And you know what? Some of these other guys that got drafted that aren't having as good a season as Keon Coleman is having right now, I bet you there's probably a part of me that's saying, you know, they would probably be having a very similar season if they had Josh Allen throwing him the ball this year, because he's great. He's great.
It does reach a point.
That helps it.
Yeah, it does reach a point where your job as general manager kind of becomes managing the cap this year, next year, 5, 6, 7 years, however long you project this guy to be in his prime. The main focus of your job has kind of shifted to just making sure nothing completely falls apart. Make sure we've got enough of this and enough of that and enough defense and enough pass rush and enough size at receiver and enough speed at receiver and enough running backs. We just need enough because the centerpiece is super obvious. I want to combine two of the things that you talked about. One of them, you mentioned Josh is one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league. And then the other is appreciating the good old days while they're happening. I want to take a leap forward because I don't think what I'm seeing is one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league. What I think I'm seeing is one of the most incredible professional athletes I've ever seen. And I know he doesn't have a Super Bowl yet. I know he hasn't even been to a Super Bowl yet. But with a 53-man roster and that guy at the center of it, I expect multiples of those things to happen. He's still early in his prime of his career, and I don't want to stop at just one of the best currently playing. There's something different going on there where the only Bills player that I'm willing to compare him to in their history right now is Bruce Smith, and I've got him ahead of Bruce Smith right now. I did not see O.J. Simpson play. I confess that because I'm not quite that old. But as far as a guy where you need to tune in because you need to see what he's going to do next, I mean, I've never seen anything like this on my team, and I have rarely seen it on other teams. I think the talk about him as, maybe he's an MVP, like all the bashing that happened when he was drafted, all the bashing in his first couple of years about turnover, even into last year about turnovers, none of that, it all just washes off my back because I'm witnessing with my mouth open half the time, just staring, saying, I can't believe I'm seeing what I'm seeing. So I would like to do everything I can to help people appreciate in the moment what they are seeing in that particular player, not just in the team and its rise and 5 consecutive division titles, but my God, you're not going to have a guy like this. I've been watching the team for a long time. You're not going to have another guy like this. So enjoy every stinking second of the prime of his career, because this is not, I think about my kids. My kids don't know any different. You know, they're 12, 10, and 8. This is what they know of football. Oh, yeah, we have a team. They're good. And Josh Allen's the quarterback. Like, he's such a superstar and then also carries himself in a way that he's charming. We like it. Like, there's nothing to root against there, and you want to be behind him, and you are behind him. But I think there's a level of appreciation that needs to be had. Like this, the reason I'm doing this daily Bills thing now is because I just want to get these thoughts out. Like, there's so much happening with that person being a part of Western New York right now. It's unlike anything we've ever seen, and I just want to talk about it. I don't think it's said enough. Somehow, I don't think it is said enough that this is not just a good player who, hey, let's argue his merits versus the merits of Patrick Mahomes or the merits of Lamar Jackson. I don't even care about what else is happening in the league. I'm talking about the perfect player for this town, for this team at the right time, and he continues to be perfect, and he continues to improve, and that's a part of it too. Like when you're drafting somebody, I think, we hear about the interview as a big part of it. The interview is almost the biggest part of it. Like you have to check the boxes physically, but what guy am I getting? And I think I'm more impressed with the guy that they've gotten who's interested in getting better week after week, year after year, than I am by his physical tools. You need the physical tools for me to care that much about the guy. But that's probably the most impressive part about him is how he carries himself on the field and off as the leader and practically king of Western New York.
I'm a Giants fan.
I know.
And they have won 4 Super Bowls. They've never had a quarterback like that. Never. I mean, they've been around for 100 years. What are we talking about? Y.A. Tittle? I mean, like, Eli Manning was cool, but he wasn't anywhere. He's not anywhere close to as good as Josh. Not even close. They've never had that. Phil Simms, Jeff Hostetler, and Eli. What are we talking about? They're not even in the same stratosphere as far as what they can do. Eli Manning never had a game that looked anything like Josh's top games. He had some great games. His playoff runs were great. And you know what? When he got in the stare down with the GOAT, he won both times. So, you give him credit for that for sure. I mean, that's awesome. I love him for it. But I routinely find myself watching Bills games and saying, my team has never had one of these. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Every time we win, it has to be by 3 yards in a cloud of dust with a great defense, which I happen to like. So that works out for me. But it's like, I don't even have, like, there's not one time where they get a gunslinger like that. No, it's Haley's Comet.
Yeah.
And it's like that for most teams. I would probably guess, other than the 49ers, the 49ers are it could have been that way with the Colts with going from Manning to Luck, but Luck got hit so much he just retired after, what was it, 7 years, 8 years?
It was right after our fantasy draft. I remember that. Like an hour after my buddy drafted him, we found out that he had retired. He was not happy.
No. So, I mean, the 49ers had Steve Young and then Montana, and, they've had some pretty big names there at quarterback. But, I mean, the Dolphins have had Marino. That's basically it. These are once in a lifetime, once in a franchise type of guys that come along the way. It's not like, Len Dawson, I'm sure, was nice. He ain't Patrick Mahomes. It's just, it's not close. It was a different game back then. So I don't want to, I'm not here to crap on Len Dawson. I love Len Dawson. He's got one of the best NFL pictures of all time.
Smoking
him in
on
the
the
locker
sideline
room there with smoking in the locker room on a folding chair with a bottle of, what was it, Fanta or something between his he had a bottle of Coke and just like the most unhealthy athletic picture you've ever seen.
Hall of Fame.
But yeah, it's not the same. So you're right. It's not really stressed enough of how unusual this is.
Let's
think about the Patriots. Everybody associates the Patriots with winning. They had Tom Brady. That's it. I mean, they went to the Super Bowls before that, but with Bledsoe. All right, but come on, Grogan,
Eason. They went to a Super Bowl with Tony Eason.
Right. I mean, they've had guys they've had really good players, but not the guy.
Yeah. You and I have talked.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
By the time Josh is done, the Bills will be identified as Josh's team, just like the Patriots are associated as Tom Brady's team, just as Mahomes with the Chiefs, just as 49ers, Montana played for the Chiefs for a number of years. What was it, 3 or 4 seasons? It never even occurs to me to think of him as anything other than a 49er. So he is the organizational's team. He's their guy now forever. And that's exciting, and it's exciting to realize that when you're in the middle of it.
Well, it's exciting to see Jim Kelly is now the guy that they interview to talk about Josh Allen. As great as he was one of the very good quarterbacks during his era. He was never the top guy, but he was our guy. The Bills have the top guy, and to continue a theme we've been discussing quite a bit lately over on the UB podcast, football is a television show, or think of it as each one as a movie. There was a time when I don't care if Tom Cruise is a race car driver or he's an attorney or he's a fighter pilot or he's a bartender. I'm watching that thing because he's in it. And that's every Bills game. Every Bills game is a Tom Cruise in his prime movie. And some are better than others. And some are spectacular and some are like, I'll wait for the next one. But this guy is starring in my favorite show. Buffalo Bills football is my favorite TV show. And this guy as the star of it means I'm watching every episode and I can't wait for the next one. And I record them and I watch them again to kill time until they play again. And this doesn't happen, man. This doesn't happen. So, yes, you were right. Appreciate the good old days because they are right now.
Hold up.
All right. Welcome back to the podcast, Nathan Dog. What's up, Nate? What do you got today?
So today in school, I got a piece of paper and asked all my friends who watch football which of these 4 players for different positions they would take to put on a team if they were all in their prime.
Well, you've become obsessed with these lists of players. Part of it has to do with, I think, all the YouTube stuff you watch. Part of it has to do with video games and rankings and all that. But, like, you've been going to trivia night with us on Tuesdays, and every time you show up with some sort of a trivia quiz to play at the table while we're in between questions of the game that's actually being played. So you're getting a little obsessive with, like, the nerdy part of football. Is that fair to say?
100%.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So what this survey, now you decided to do, when in school do you do, you're in 5th grade. When in school do you have time to do a survey and ask your friends about football things and write them down on pieces of paper and then come home and explain them all to me? What's the deal there? When do you do that?
So today I had a math test.
Yeah.
And I was the first person to finish. So I just took a piece of paper and wrote down these players. And when I got the chance to ask my friends, I would ask them, and then they would.
How do you think you did on the math test? Did you hustle through the math test so that you could do a survey about football players during school so that you could talk about it on a podcast?
No, I just thought of that for something to do because on one of the sheets, I wrote down all the rankings of the starting quarterbacks this season.
This is just what you did. You just ranked the quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Give me your top 10. Count them from 10 to 1.
All right.
All right. Nate's top 10 quarterbacks so far this season. These aren't like Madden rankings. This is just what you think?
Yeah.
All right. Nate's opinion. What do you got?
Number 10, C.J. Stroud. Number 9, Bo Nix. Number 8, Justin Herbert. Number 7, Russell Wilson. Number 6, Joe Burrow. Number 5, Jared Goff. 4, Mahomes. 3, Lamar. 2, Jalen Hurts. And 1, Josh Allen.
All right. Who's 32nd? Did you go all the way down? All the way to
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Remember when I had your little brother convinced that was a girl because of the long hair?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It
Yeah,
took him,
It was funny.
I don't know, a year before he said, "Wait, Dad, is that really a girl?" And I said, yes. Because what is the point of having sons if you can't tell them lies that make other people laugh?
There isn't a point.
There isn't. That's right. You did a survey, and this is what were you trying to determine here with this survey you conducted in your 5th grade? Are these all 5th graders? Every answer
Yeah.
was by a 5th grader?
Yeah.
Is it all boys?
Yeah.
Do girls like football?
Don't really know.
Do girls show up wearing Bills stuff?
Yeah, some, but I don't know if they even if it's just their parents bought it for them and it's something to wear, or it'll make them fit in with everyone else, or if it's just they actually do like the Bills. I don't know.
What percentage of kids in 5th grade, we'll just do the boys. Forget about the girls. They don't even count. Girls don't count yet. What percentage of the boys do you think are legit into football, not just wear Bills stuff because their parents bought it for them and whatever? How many, like, is it a tiny little group of, like, elite football fans that you're gravitating toward, or is this a general, I mean, because I've been talking about, this is a golden age of Buffalo Bills football. We have talked about this. I've told you how good you have it, that you missed almost 20 years of no playoffs. And now it's just 5 consecutive division titles. No big deal. Do people get it? What percentage of people get it? Of fifth grade boys get it?
Like 10 or 15% understand that this is the right time to be a Bills fan when they have Josh Allen and like you just said, have won 5 straight division titles.
So those are your friends, and do you have any time for the others, or you only hang out with the real sports people?
So, most of the time I just hang out with my sports friends, but there are also some times where I hang out with my friends that I play other video games with.
Okay. Other video games like Fortnite?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're into football and Fortnite. Those are your things. And you play baseball and basketball.
I play baseball and basketball.
But when you're in your spare time, you're thinking about football. When you're not thinking about football, you're thinking about Fortnite?
Yeah, basically.
How are your grades this year, Nate?
Pretty good.
How good?
I got 100 in math, 99 in ELA, and 100 in social studies. Those were my best classes.
What happened in ELA? Where'd that point go?
I don't know.
Tell me about the survey. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Let's talk survey. Let's talk about this. This is non-scientific. You didn't run it through a real scientific method. It's a pretty informal survey of other fifth graders who felt like talking to you during the day. This all happened today. What did you do? Tell me exactly. So you listed players by position, 3 or 4 at a time, and then had them pick their favorite or rank them. What did they do?
So I would ask them if they were to pick one of the players to put on a team when all these players were in their prime, which one would they take, one per position?
Okay. And this is just what you did for fun at school today.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's hear it. Let's hear the results.
Okay. So for quarterback, the 4 quarterbacks are Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and Tom Brady. 5 people said Peyton Manning. None said Aaron Rodgers. 6 said Josh Allen, and 5 said Tom Brady.
So Josh won by 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I would expect you are in Buffalo. We are witnessing an MVP type performance. We just witnessed Offensive Player of the Week, all the stuff we talked about yesterday, all the things that were accomplished, a snow game. Although, did everybody stay up to watch it?
No.
I'm just wondering what it's been like for you at school the last couple days, because you went to the game on Sunday, and I imagine came in bragging about that. And then last night, you went to trivia with us and recorded a podcast, which was released to the world. Did you brag about that today?
Yeah.
Who did you brag about that to?
Deacon, because I can tell him now that he's not the only kid in the grade that has a job.
Ah, all right. Job? You're expecting to get paid for this?
No, but I don't know.
Tell people about Deacon. Let's give a little plug to Deacon. Today's podcast is brought to you by Deke the Balloon Boy. Tell us about Deacon. Deacon's awesome.
So my friend Deacon at school, he's a really good balloon animal maker, and one day he asked his parents if he could make his own business.
Yeah.
So he did, and then a few weeks later, Channel 7 came to his house to interview him.
Okay.
And we
had him out at our baseball picnic making balloon animals. We paid him a small amount, and then he donated a portion of that small amount, and he got tips. I think he got to keep those. But and this is another 10-year-old kid that's just running his own balloon business in Amherst.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. All right, so you bragged to Deacon. You told him he's not the only one with a job. What did he think?
He said, "Oh, come on." He didn't believe me.
All right. I don't imagine anybody got a chance to listen to it, right?
No.
Would you even know how to tell him to listen to it? If Deke the Balloon Boy, told you he wanted to hear you do a podcast, what would you tell him?
That you can go on Spotify, search up Writer Radio, and there will be one called, I think it was Taking My Son to SNF.
Something like that. Okay. Writer Radio, though. That's what you need to know. Writer Radio. And you know how to spell it because it's your name, too.
Yeah.
So you won't have any problem with it. And until further notice, that's where it will be. Writer Radio is what we're working with here. So Josh Allen wins amongst fifth grade boys at your school as the quarterback of choice. Now, there are a couple things there. It's the Bills quarterback. It's a guy who's a star now compared to guys who used to be stars, one of whom everyone with decent parents was taught to hate in Brady, right? Manning has been gone long enough that you certainly don't remember him being in the AFC East like he was when he started his career. But he was always kind of the foil to Brady. So I think, and plus he's been in commercials and he's hosted SNL and he's kind of got a personality. He's charming. He does the Manning cast on Monday nights or Sunday nights, whichever one that is. I don't even know. I never watch it, but I've seen clips and I know that he's in the entertainment part of sports, so people like him. And I think we've all grown to strongly dislike Aaron Rodgers, although I still do kind of have a thing for him. But I get that. Okay, that one all completely makes sense. What's our next position?
Wide receiver. And also, what I was trying to do is I was trying to take 3 old players, 3 like retired players, and then 1 current player to see all of my friends that like football, which one of them actually know the players and don't just know the current ones.
Okay.
And I also...
So you're trying to determine the effects of recency bias on sports fandom amongst 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay. I mean, I don't know that you knew that you were doing that, but that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
So that's a problem worth exploring. I got no problem with that. All right. Next position.
Wide receiver. And also for all of these, I put a vote into all of them. So for quarterback, I voted for Josh Allen because
Wait, so Josh Allen won by 1 and you voted?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to have to throw out those results. That's a tie. That's 5 for Allen, 5 for Manning, 5 for Brady, none for Rodgers. And then the guy who's conducting the survey says, I'll just decide and I'll pick the guy I like.
I was the first person to vote.
All right,
so.
no, I understand that, but still, if we're moving on.
Okay.
We're on receivers.
Receivers. Randy Moss won this one. The 4
Really?
players were Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Justin Jefferson, and Calvin Johnson. Randy Moss won this one. He had 8. Jerry Rice had 5. Justin Jefferson had 2. And Calvin Johnson had none.
All right, and who did you go for?
Randy Moss.
Okay, so far, Nate's 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Kind of self-serving data here, but it's all right.
Okay. Next position is running back.
Yeah.
And it was either Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Christian McCaffrey, or Bo Jackson. Barry Sanders won. He had 4. Emmitt Smith had... Or Barry Sanders had 5. Emmitt Smith had 1. Christian McCaffrey had 1. Bo Jackson had 3.
Okay, so people know Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
10-year-olds know Bo Jackson is what I'm hearing there.
Yeah.
I mean, did other people watch the Barry Sanders documentary on Amazon Prime like you did?
Probably not.
Probably not, because that's where you got your thing for Barry, right?
Yeah.
I told you, watch this. I think you'll like this guy. Then you sat there fascinated, and then you went on eBay and bought a Barry Sanders jersey that you wear like once a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
For that one, I voted for Barry
Yeah,
Sanders.
okay. So far, everything that you like has come in first place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now defense. Just any defensive player, mostly defensive backs, but there was only one linebacker. But there was one linebacker.
All right, what do you got?
Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson, Jalen Ramsey, and Dick Butkus.
How did you land on those 4?
I don't know. I just picked.
This is just what's in your head. Like you didn't have. Were you looking online when
No.
making the list? You're just like, I'm going to name 4 players. One of them is going to be Dick Butkus.
No. So I.
Is it because of his funny name?
No. So
Kinda?
No, because I did Deion Sanders, Rod Woodson, and Jalen Ramsey, and I just asked my friend just give me a good defensive player that's retired, and he said Dick Butkus.
What friend do you have that knew to say Dick Butkus?
My friend Braden.
Braden. Okay.
Deion Sanders got 5 votes. Rod Woodson got none. Jalen Ramsey got 1. And Dick Butkus won. He had
What?
5 or 6 votes.
6 fifth graders today, December of 2024, chose Dick Butkus as their favorite football player. Was it because of his funny name?
Probably.
Okay.
Living rooms, bedrooms, dinettes. Oh yeah, you can find them at the market. We talking about flea market. Montgomery, it's just like a mini mall. Oh yeah, come shop with us. I said flea market. Montgomery, it's just like a mini mall. Hey, you heard me. Come shop. Living rooms, bedrooms, dinettes. We got it.